wonderful to have you back to watch our new video. Now keep your attention on how you want to feel, and the universe will fill in the details. You will know your power when you can no longer split your energy flow.
For years, the idea that you couldn't grow new brain cells or couldn't change the brain in some way, that was a belief. And you know why? Because the scientist that was doing the experiment was studying rodents in an unchanging environment. How could there ever be any new connections or new circuitry or new brain cells if there's no new experiences? So I think in the age of information, in the age of technology, ignorance is a choice. And people are beginning to go, hey, I don't need my doctor to tell me about this. I can get on the internet and read it. Hey, I'm going to read a book on quantum physics, and I'm going to ask the mysterious question. I'm going to step outside of convention myself. So once you step outside of convention, you will be considered foolhardy or insane until you're able to produce some type of change. Then you're considered a saint, a holy man, a mystic, a genius. Dare to be original. So I think the camp is divided in a very big way. That's the reason why I'm doing all the measurements. Because I want people to understand that the person that healed themselves of that condition, that traumatic brain injury, I want to show you that their brain is better. They're not just saying, I feel better. No, they are better. I want them to see that. Now, they didn't do that with a drug. They didn't do that with therapy. They didn't do that with anything except by thought alone. And they made those biological changes. So, to answer the question, the camp is divided in many ways. The old paradigms, and then the new understandings and the new paradigms. And then there's this little kind of bridge in between. And we're only as good as the people that are willing to execute it. In other words, you got to be skilled at this, right? You've got to be skilled at this. So if you're not skilled at it, we're not going to see any changes. So imagine 500 people or 450 people coming to an event, a workshop, and we are going to help them cross that river and to become conscious of their unconscious thoughts. You know, the ones that say, you can't, it's too hard, this will never happen, I can't change, I'm too this, I'm too old, I'm too that. Get beyond what their habits are, what they say unconsciously. Do they complain? Do they blame? Do they make excuses? Do they feel sorry for themselves? They're a program. They talk about others. And look at their emotional states. Oh my God, I've been guilty for the last 30 years. I didn't even know I was guilty. It just felt like me. I've been unworthy. I didn't even know I was unworthy. It just felt like who I am. And all of a sudden, they start becoming conscious of that. And then they start creating a new change for themselves. And one by one, you start seeing these breakthroughs. You start measuring those breakthroughs. You have people on the stage talk about their breakthroughs, show their brain scan, show their heart rate monitor, show the energy change. And I guarantee you, just like an infection can create a disease in a community, I believe that wellness can be as infectious as disease. And you start seeing dramatic changes happening in a small community of people who are outside of the conditioning of their environment. The science has to be done to measure it, but the measurements are only as good as our students. And if they're not doing the work, if they're not developing the ability to sustain brainwave states, if they're not getting beyond their analytical mind, because what separates the conscious mind from the subconscious mind is the analytical mind. And if a person doesn't get beyond their analytical mind, they'll still think within their belief. And I've measured enough brains to tell you is that when you think within your belief, or you think within those limited emotions, you are going to make your brain worse. Without a doubt. It's only when you transcend that analytical mind that you start falling in to those subconscious programs and you begin to step into the autonomic nervous system where you can change your chemistry and your biology. So then if our students aren't good at doing that, then it's still a philosophical concept, pie in the sky principles. But what we want to do is we want to give people the knowledge, the information, and blend sciences of possibility, whether it's quantum physics or neuroplasticity or neuroendocrinology or epigenetics or whatever it is, hormonal change, psychoneuroimmunology. We want to give them the information and have them reason it. We want them to be able to turn to someone next to them and explain what they just learned so they wire it in there. We want to give them the instruction and have them review the instruction, and then we want to put them into the experience. Not everybody is going to have the experience, but all we need is a few. And if that person or series of people have that experience, that transformation, and we measure that transformation, that's more information to teach transformation the next time, because I can understand what took place. When you're studying a brainwave, and all of a sudden if you took a group of Crayola crayons and you went like that, and it just looked like a snowstorm where you couldn't see any measurements, how are you going to measure that? We had to go through this whole process of figuring out a way to measure the amount of energy in a person's brain, their entire brain, when that occurs. And so we've had to figure out ways for understanding, because we're measuring the supernatural, to just go, wow, that's a lot of energy in the person's brain. Have you ever seen that before? No. That looks like it could be a seizure. Oh, really? Well, that person's wearing an HRV monitor. If they're having a seizure, their heart would be going crazy. But for 1 hour, their heart is in absolute love. That's anomalous. It only takes a few of those, and you start scratching your head and saying, well, God, we've been so conditioned. We're studying normal so much. We're studying depression. We're studying anxiety, cyclic mood problems, traumatic brain injuries. We're studying normals. And I'm not interested in normal. I'm not interested in natural. I'm interested in supernatural and supernormal. And that stuff means that if that person once, twice, 3 times, we're seeing it over and over again. We're seeing a trend now. Well, if it's happening over and over again, then we know that something is possible for a human being. And when you see those energetic changes in the brain in a person who's had uterine fibroids or chronic pain or serious depression, in one meditation, come out of that meditation and be healed, that's because the inner event was real. They were having a full-on sensory experience without their senses. And that's the transformation. Listen, I think everything's the placebo right now. After I wrote my book, I sit around and just go, placebo, placebo, placebo. And look, my God, we're programmable human beings. Yeah. If my doctor's enthusiastic about a new drug, I'm going to be enthusiastic too. But then, there are some very hard science things as well. Placebo works really well for pain. Placebo works really well for anxiety. Placebo works very well for inflammation. Placebo works very well for well-being. We know that. But in doing the research that we did and understanding how the placebo works and then teaching it, I am very pleasantly surprised at the effects that we produced that were way outside of what I expected. So the person's belief then that they could get better from their condition has added to the effect that they got better from their condition. So to me, there's so much of it that is belief. And do I believe that germs create disease? Hardly. If I believe that germs create disease, and I was nervous about germs everywhere, in the crazy clinic that I used to be in quite a bit, but we have and run, hundreds and hundreds of people are moving through there, there's snot flying everywhere. If I believed in germs, I would be sick every day. I just don't believe that I'm susceptible to germs and that I need a flu shot. I don't believe that. I just don't. And I've never had a flu shot, and I very rarely get sick, but that's my belief. But some people believe that they need the flu shot. But no, it's programmed for a lot of people to think if they don't get the flu shot, they're going to get sick. So you watch a television commercial, and television commercials pay attention. They're dreams. Pay attention. They're going to create some weird, dreamy state. There's going to be some emotion that's created. And the moment the emotion is created, there's going to be a brand or a symbol. That's called programming.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and share it with someone who could use some motivation.